time for another edition of the Daily Racing Form, a weekend preview. I am Gino Bacola alongside my good friend Angela Herman with producer Lucia helping us out this week. Angela, thanks so much for joining us. You have a little bit of time off right now for Canterbury not having the live racing season. How's everything going on your end?
It's good. Yeah, the Vikings have just given us some more free time too. Usually we have a little more to look forward to on Sundays and Saturdays. Not going to happen this season, but we're getting ready for live, and it starts pretty much, I guess, the second the holidays are over and getting things together for hiring. We start up in May. Our schedule is out, and that's really the mode that we've been in at Canterbury. It's fun, and the road to Kentucky just sort of makes it go a little bit quicker, and we get to see some of those faces, I guess, when what we talk about today.
So we're going to be previewing a couple races from Gulfstream Park, one race from Santa Anita. The Santa Anita race, not the biggest field in the world, so we'll save that one for our final segment. First two races at Gulfstream Park are Sunshine Classic races. They used to be Sunshine Millions, where they were these races between California-bred horses and Florida-bred horses. Things have changed a little bit, but we still have a really good 11th race on Saturday at Gulfstream Park, Angela, to dive on into. This one is going to go a mile on the turf course. It's the Sunshine Filly and Mare Turf, $75,000 up for grabs. And we'll go through this field in here and give a couple thoughts on each of these runners, starting out with Lady Cha-Cha, who is 0 for the last 11. So now you're having to go back to like May of 2024 for the last victory. Horse who doesn't have a whole lot of early speed either. So she's going to kind of drop back and make one late run. Any thoughts on her?
I thought that was her advantage because it seems like there's a lot of speed drawn to her outside. But Lady Cha-Cha has just run the same race over and over again. Of course,
Yep.
Laura Casares gets her back, but if she throws in the same sort of thing, I think she's very usable in a vertical sense. It's just the way that that turf course has been playing and that she hasn't shown market improvement at any times when others in here have. I would probably relegate her to a third or fourth spot, maybe in a super.
A lot of the way you were describing Lady Cha-Cha, I kind of feel about Luz de la Luna, the two who we get to, who she's going to get claimed by a very good claiming trainer who actually claims this one back. But when you're looking at the speed figures and just sort of comparing what she's been doing recently, you just don't see a whole lot of improvement for this newly turned 7-year-old mare.
I would just guess that she's in there in case they get one of those deluges that they're known to get in South Florida.
Good
If
point.
this race does get moved over to the Tapeta, I think she moves way up. But the fact that she hasn't been on the turf very much, her last 3 turf races have been one-turn efforts. And the last time that she went 2 turns on the turf was October 2022. I just don't think that this is really what they were hoping for. It's just she's a Florida bred. Why not? See if it comes off the turf, things could really go her way. But I mean, Marty Drexler also claimed her in the past before, and he put her right back in a one-turn sprint on a synthetic track. So maybe he doesn't fancy her this type, but some things can change in South Florida, and maybe that's what they're hoping for with her.
Up next is Miss Mary Nell. She's a horse who's going to be forwardly placed in here. She's been facing open company. Last time she was in with Florida bred, she was actually a winner. I kind of went back and forth with her a little bit, but I agree with you. I think she's going to be part of the early speed, and it looks like there might be some company up front.
Yeah, it looks like she has one way to go, and considering she drew inside of most of them, doesn't help. And the noted thing that I saw with Miss Mary Nell was how much better she seems to be with Lasix. And she has that speed, she can keep it going, but there is a difference between both the synthetic and LASIK races and everything else. So without her having that in here and with that pace pressure, I couldn't see a trip where she would get comfortable enough on the front end, but the price is definitely going to be there if you think she can steal it.
Volatile will make her first start on the turf. Her dam never tried the turf, but she did have 2 siblings that tried it. One of them was a winner. She is just a non-winners of 2 in here also, just a lone victory, and that was way back in back in October of 2024. What do you think about this one?
I just think that when you look at the Sunshine Millions, sometimes you get brave with the Florida bred, just thinking that maybe being in that small circle that they can show a new dimension. And she hasn't run poorly. She's run into some buzzsaws on the main track. I mean, she's really done good running while running second, but that they have been one-turn sprints on the main track. She doesn't have a whole bunch of turf pedigree, like you mentioned, one maiden winner, I think, at Louisiana Downs. This just doesn't seem like an ideal spot for her, but maybe a spot where they too are hoping that there could be a surface change and she could take advantage of some turf horses.
I don't really want to knock Sapphire Girl, who's only raced on the turf one time, and the lone turf race was a victory, but that was in October. She's going to have to step up and face winners now. It just seems like she's spotting this field a lot of experience.
Definitely, but she did show some professionalism. She's kind of grindy. The four pace
Yep.
horses came back to her the day that she won. She did keep going, and I guess that's enough to get you into this spot. But Sapphire Girl still has to take a giant step forward, where some of these just maybe need to rebound to their regular form.
Spirited Boss is next up. She's never been worse than third in her career. And now she'll go second start off the 6.5 month break. She's proven at Gulfstream. She's proven at the distance. If you just toss the race, going two starts back when the race was taken off the grass, everything else looks really, really good. We're watching the most recent win, which is over at Tampa, and that was her first start back since June. Seems like a lot of positives for her heading into the race, Angela.
She's solid. She's got upside, and she can do what exactly she's being asked to do today. I'm sure you got chills watching that replay. She's a
Yep.
trip kind of horse where she stayed bottled up on the inside, had a ton of horse, had to switch out. I happen to be rooting for Tour Queen that day. She's a former stakes winner at Canterbury Park. She ran her Badungers off, but she couldn't hold off this filly. And Spirited Boss is going to be really tough to hold off in this particular group, too.
We move next to Ashba, who is in really nice form right now. This is a 10-time winner in her 20 starts, so she loves to win races, and she's going to make the third start of her form cycle. I mean, you have to go back a long way to find a race that wasn't good. Her whole page is really competitive. She's very honest. She shows up with a good effort almost every single time. She's another who just seems like she's a good fit here, and this was last year's winner.
She's a perfect fit, and she won this last year when nobody wanted to go and take the lead, and it doesn't seem like there's a real different group assembled against her this year. She is definitely a steady sort. You know what you're gonna get with her at least. So as long as you deem the price fair, I won't talk you off her. I think that if she shows up, she's versatile too. There's a lot of these that are more one-dimensional than she is, and there's a lot to like about her. I just think that the price on a couple of these, including her, may be less than what I would be looking for in a more evenly matched group like it seems.
Up next, it's Super Willy Wah, who comes off of a fifth place finish, was in that similar race on December the 13th behind Destino d'Oro. That filly who wins that race is a pretty nice one when she shows up with one of her better efforts. Third start off the form cycle for Super Willy Wah. She's never really run a bad race, but she's just going to have to get a little bit faster, I think, to compete with some of the top ones in here. What are your thoughts on her?
I don't find it great that when she left Gulfstream Park, she ran a lot better with some slower paces in front of her. It didn't look like she had much of an excuse last time. There were four of them, I believe, from these connections, and Super Willow got a pretty unfettered, though wide trip. I think she's usable for a piece. I think that she could come late, but the way that the turf course works and the race that she put in last time just didn't leave me wanting more.
Rugelach is up next. She's a horse that's in very nice form right now, Angela. She was out in Southern California for a while, went over to Tampa. She finished a good second behind a horse who came right back to win their next start. And she was in a very live race. That horse was one of three next out winners, I believe, from that most recent race. So, I mean, she just seems like a horse who has speed. She can sit off, she can pass. She's another one that's very logical in here.
Yeah, she lost to Silver Moonlight, who won at Gulfstream before and after in races that would probably make her one of the favorites. And here, she ran perfectly, and that was her first start for this new barn. They've been working her since late September. She did get up to the lead and just got passed up, but she was second best, like I said, to a nice horse. It seems like a horse like this that might have some issues. There's some layoffs, there's changes in her past. She's going to run best when she's most fresh, and that's first or second off the layoff. So I'm going to take her in her second start because the first one seemed like a perfect stepping stone to this.
We move to Super Zonda. If you key off of her turf races and eliminate the synthetic and the dirt races, all of a sudden that form looks a lot better. Another one who was in that December 13th race behind Destino d'Oro. What do you think about this one?
She ran nice, actually. She was one of the survivors from the pace. Looked like she was a rabbit that day. She was 50-1, outran those odds, but she'd have to do it again. And from the 10 hole, that doesn't seem likely.
Great Venezuela always shows up with a good effort. She's 15 for 16 in the top three, but the bulk of her work has been shorter, Angela. She did finish a good second last year in this race, but I don't know if from out wide this is the trip and the distance that she wants. Give us a thought on her and we'll move to selections.
Yeah, this course can definitely carry a filly a little bit further than she'd want to go. But given that outside post, I agree with you. I just think she's up against it, even though she is a very, very nice filly.
Yeah, it's a really competitive race to close out all the exotics. Race 11 on Saturday at Gulfstream. Angela's going to go with Rugelach. You can see a lot of similarities between us with our top four. 9, 6, 7, 8 for Angela. I'll go with Spirited Boss on top. 6, 7, 9, 10. But you don't go anywhere. We have one more race to preview at Gulfstream when we return. head on back over to Gulfstream Park for our second race preview of the show. But before we do, we want to let you all know about daily racing form and the sports betting connection. You know about DRF as the trusted source of analysis and everything you need in the world of horse racing. But now we've got information for you when it comes to sports betting. If you click on that Bet on Sports icon on the front of the daily racing form webpage, it'll take you to bunch of sportsbook reviews. It'll show you all the different states that you can wager in. It'll give you news and analysis. Angela, you gave us a little bit of a tease. You're a Minnesota fan, so your Vikings are out, but two of your rivals are playing in a playoff game with the Packers and the Bears. Do you have a lean one way or the other, or a thought with those two teams that you know?
How do you root for either one of them?
I know, right?
I can't. I guess we have to kind of root for Chicago. They've gone through a little bit tougher times lately. Then you go further back, and Detroit is nothing but tough times. I guess I would root for Chicago. I got some friends there. I went to a couple of games there in the last couple of years, but I don't think I can count on either one of them to go too long term. So I'm glad I wouldn't be betting with my heart in that. But
You,
I'll lean Bears in that particular
it's one of
situation.
those for you is like, can both teams lose? Right? Does somebody have to
Yeah,
win?
exactly.
Somebody's got to win this
Exactly. Can they
game.
just call the game off and tell them they're both out? But I
So
yeah, I don't have a strong lean with either one of them, but the slight one would be Chicago.
shout out Caleb Williams as a USC Trojan fan here. We're always rooting for Caleb. Let's get into our preview. Just a short field for the Sunshine Classic, but we do have a prior winner of this race. A couple interesting horses in here. Let's start things out with the number 1 Pure Class. Now, he's been facing open company, and he moves back in with Florida Breds. That's a positive, but he's never been a mile and a 16th, and he's only been a mile one time. He finished third on a sloppy racetrack. So from a distance standpoint, I don't really know what to think about him in this spot.
And just hard to say that this was anywhere on the radar. You claimed him out of his last start. And perhaps it's one of those situations where you don't see as many going in the race as you thought. And again, just because it is this limited category of horses, give it a shot, see what you got. And there's no risk in losing him there. As long as nothing too bad happens, I think that maybe he could make some noise. I mean, she got third with one of these types that she claimed and put into one of these handicaps. The other two ran up the street. So your call and whatever price you would want to take with him. But that's a big ask.
Couple of horses in here that remind me of each other because their paths were similar. You have a horse like Hades who tried to get into some of those 3-year-old races for the Kentucky Derby and the big races. Just didn't seem like he really wanted to go quite that far, or he was quite at that level. And now, as he's dropped down and faced a little softer company, we've seen him win 2 of his last 4 starts. Came from off the pace a little bit more last time out over at Tampa. What do you do with him in this spot?
Hades did remind me a little bit of the horse right next door to him. We'll talk about him next. But Hades looks like a tough horse to ride because you have to kind of get him into the race.
Yep.
There's a big difference between the races where he's close and the races where he's far behind. And he had to be under an all-out drive for at least 3/8 of a mile last time to stay in the race, to keep going, and to keep his attention. Even when he got towards the lead coming for home, he turned his head to the outside and just looked
Yeah.
distracted. And once his rider really gets into him, then he'll keep going at the task. But God, I would not want to be T-Gaff in this situation. He is going to have a rough, or not a rough 10th race. He's going to have to work for his money in the 10th race to keep Hades in the race throughout. But if he does, I think that he'll be one of the better prices in here with some speed.
Kind of shows you with how the trajectory of his career too, just like what you're hitting on. He won his first 3 starts, then he goes 0 for his next 11. So he was precocious, but then as he started to have to like really put it all together and face tougher company, it just took a while for him. So mentally, we'll see if he's got it all together right now. We move to Awesome Train. He's won 2 of his last 3 starts. And that's after going 0 for 7 in early 2025. So he's off form a little bit, bounced back, and has been in better form recently. And all 6 of his wins have been at Gulfstream Park. But he did run 5th in this race last year. So I'm kind of going back and forth with some mixed signals with him.
And they've taken some shots with him, no faulting him with that. His better races have just been at one turn, whether it be the 7 furlongs, the mile. He just seems to be a touch better doing that sort of thing than doing the mile and a 16th. Probably why he's only tried it a handful of times, but in just throwing himself in with horses that he's kept up with but hasn't beat, maybe they're hoping for a slice, and maybe that's his ceiling. But I wouldn't be surprised if he makes his presence felt at least early and maybe use him underneath in an exacta or a try.
Next up is Lure Him In. He actually won this race back in 2024. Only 3 for 15 since. A few races where he's been a little bit overmatched. He's been very consistent overall throughout his career. He's run 56 times. Horses don't run that much anymore. And he's been in the money in 31 of them, including winning 3 of those last 8, coming off of a pretty good second place finish last time out. He seems like he's a solid fit in here with this group. I get a little worried, Angela, when they get older. Now he's turned 9, so you always have some concerns. Does he have some of that same punch as he did maybe a year or 2 ago? But he's very honest. He likes this track, and this is kind of a good group for him with.
Yeah, and he fought. If he can keep himself in the race, that horse will fight. And that replay was funny, just going even further back is like Gonzalez was standing up on the turn, just go, 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 keep going. And he kept going and he did fight it right down to the line. But how many times in a row is he going to keep doing that? Because he has had some tough races lately. And sometimes these guys take turns. I'm going to take the chance that maybe it's the turn of last year's winner, Lightning Tones, that could maybe revert to the better starts that he's had in the past, because the last 2 times he's blown it and put himself behind the 8 ball and contradict what I would usually do at Gulfstream Park. I'm not big on taking horses that come from last to first or come from pretty far off the pace, but he's already proven that he likes this track enough to defy that generality I have about it. He just loves Gulfstream Park. So put pace in front of him like I expect in here, just a slightly better break, and his best race does win this. So I'm going to hope that he can get back to that, and maybe he's just a little sharper at the start.
And Lightning Tones, as you pointed out, loves Gulfstream Park. He's another one. All 6 of his wins have been here. So even though his running style doesn't automatically scream a Gulfstream Park horse coming from way, way out of it, he likes the Gulfstream Park track. And when the race sets up for him, he absolutely can win there. We round things out with Neo Equus. He was 3rd in the Florida Derby behind Tapan Street and Sovereignty. That race looks pretty good on paper right now.
Yeah.
He's a stakes winner, multiple graded stakes place, but he's been off since September. He did have 4 straight works in December. All of his wins have been at 6 furlongs, though. He did finish 3rd in a mile and a 16th. He's another that I go back and forth with. I liked when they cut him back to the sprint races, and now he stretches back out, but he gets to face Florida breds. So what do we do with him, Angela?
Yeah, they're just getting him back on track too. He's had what, 5 works since action. Doesn't seem like you're really cranking him to the gills to get him going for the start. And even if he doesn't win it, I'm sure there's just different targets for him down the road, maybe 7 furlongs, 6.5, some races that have really suited him recently. And in some of those works that you watch with him coming back, maybe they've been trying to teach him to pass because they've been working him on the outside of horses, trying to get him to go past, and he just won't. So if they need him to be on the lead, this might not be the best spot to do it, but it's not the end of the road. There's still a big future in front of this horse, so I don't think that this is must-win territory.
Selections we saw. I'm on the 4 horse, Lure Him In, 4652. Angela will go to the 5, Lightning Tones, 5463. We will go to Santa Anita when we return. Final segment, we're going to head on over to Santa Anita, talk about the San Vicente. But before we do, want to let all of you know about a new product that Daily Racing Form has. Angela, this is something that I think would be very kind to a lot of the players that you deal with over at Canterbury, because when you ask DRF AI some of the questions, it really helps your handicapping, and I think it helps new players quite a bit as well. One thing I like to do, I'm always looking for big prices. So, for example, I will ask DRFAI, hey, on Saturday at Santa Anita in the late pick 4, can you find me some horses that are double-digit odds that you think have a chance? And then I can go and take a dive at those horses, right? Then I can take a deep dive and look. All of a sudden, it sort of saved me some of the time picking out those horses that they think are logical. So one thing I love about Canterbury, it's a very friendly, player-friendly atmosphere. You're always answering a lot of questions for people who come up and ask you, new handicappers. These are the tools that we as horse players need to make sure that the new players have out there so they can understand the game.
It's a great notion. And especially, do you want to go up and ask a person or do you want to Google it these days? Usually
Right?
you want to Google it, but if you
Yeah.
go to DRF AI, you can skip that and get the accurate answer to maybe more specific questions than you're looking for.
Great point there. Ask DRF AI. Hopefully, we can lead you in the right direction here over at Santa Anita. This is a race for 3-year-old horses. There are no Kentucky Derby points up for grabs, but this is a race that is commonly used for horses as a stepping stone into other Kentucky Derby prep races. So I wouldn't really be shocked, Angela, if any of the inside 4 horses won this race. I mean, it's not a big field, but it is kind of competitive with a few different horses that you can make a case for. Let's start with Greenwich Village. Inside speed, he's only raced once. It was a win over at Los Alamitos. Now, his dam was a multiple graded stakes winner sprinting on the turf. I thought this was a fine effort for trainer Bob Baffert. He has 2 in here. What do you think about Greenwich Village?
The pedigree certainly says sprint, like you mentioned, his turf sprinting dam, and his best siblings have been a little bit better going short. And he didn't do anything really that bad. I mean, he broke in his first start, but got a pretty clear run through. He had to bowl his way between horses, and I thought that he was going to draw away better than he did down the stretch. Now, maybe that's why he ends up here. There's distance limitations, at least sticking out in the pedigree. Maybe he's seeing that when the horse races. I don't like the rail draw for him, but I wouldn't be surprised too if he was sent to maybe go after one of the other horses that would try to shake loose in here, and that maybe Butane would be waiting for him to come back to him. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't like him quite as much as the other major contenders, but there's a little something there with him. His works have been okay recently. He's been working with Cherokee Nation, another Baffert runner. Let's move to So Happy. His debut was a good one. He was 38-1 when he win, and a couple of the horses, including the 4th place finisher that he beat, have come back to run well. That horse came back to win a maiden special weight race next out at Santa Anita with a big 88 Beyer speed figure. I thought this was a pretty good effort from the horse first time out of the box, Angela.
So professional. He is definitely a horse with a future, even if that future isn't realized now. And I think 7 furlongs for him would be more of a stepping stone, maybe than some of the other horses in here that might have limitations. Doesn't really look like he does at this point. He just kept going and going. And if they start him at 6.5, 7 is a nice step to whatever's coming next. And if he follows through with that sort of race, he's going to be very, very tough to hold off. Should be in it throughout.
Butane is the next one up. He was actually favored over Ted Noffey when they raced against each other in the Grade 1 Hopeful, because in his debut, Butane was a very nice winner. And it wasn't even like this was a bad effort finishing second here, Angela. He just tried to go with Ted Noffey, and he couldn't. He just couldn't close with the horse who's currently the #1 juvenile and the top horse in this division. So, I mean, Butane feels like the horse to beat here, right? He's a measuring stick. He seems like he's classy, and I have no knocks on him.
Yeah, Baffert's won 5 of the last 6 of these. This is his main contender, and he's got everything going for him. And the recent works really, I mean, do sparkle, but they're still newly turned 3-year-olds, and he still hasn't run in a while. And Butane has all the goods except for the price. I just think that maybe it's worth giving him this one and seeing if it doesn't get better.
Completely agree. While I respect him, I don't think he towers over this field so much that horses to the inside or outside of him couldn't make things difficult for him. Like, Acknowledge Me, Please. First 2 sprints were very, very good. In fact, he beat a horse named Blacksmith, who came back and was the Grade 2 runner-up a couple starts back in the Los Al Futurity. He'll add the blinkers. He gets a cutback for a horse who's been a little quirky. I think he's going to be pretty tough in this spot.
Yeah, I think it's worth noting the blinkers too, because they actually worked him in those before his last race. Didn't put him on that day, and I want to see if he's got that giant right cup to keep him from getting out, and if that hasn't been playing a part in some of these losses, including the Los Al Futurity. If that's been a difficulty for his riders, perhaps getting him focused and just using that speed could all add up to a mild upset in here, and I'm hoping for that.
As we round out the field with Thirsty Rebel, he's a Calbred. I understand why they take a shot, but he does look like he's in a little bit tough just compared to his 3 rivals to the inside. Let's move to selections here. Angela, how are you going to stack them up? Yeah, we'll both take a little shot against Butane. Acknowledge Me, Please, for Angela, going to the outside with the horse who has the speed. I'm going to go to So Happy, 4-3-2-1 for Angela, 2-4-3-1 for me. Whoever you play, however you play them, we wish you the best of luck.